Right, here we go. Hello. Hi, everyone. You can see people joining slowly. We'll just let the numbers tick up. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, everyone coming on. We just give it a moment just to allow people to join. Something I like to do actually beginning of webinars, just to check that the functionality is working, is if you want to pop in the chat where in the UK or around the world you're joining us from. That's always quite nice for us to see where you all are. And it tells us it's working as well. Lovely, I've got a response. Welcome, Gloria, in London. Manchester, Norwich, Lebanon. Here we go, now we've got loads. There's a few from Essex. I'm in Bishop Stortford, so not too far from you. Trinidad, oh, we'll have something on that later. Boston, Turkey, India. God, I can't keep up with them all. Singapore, it's midnight there. Wow, guys, that's amazing. Sheffield, lovely. I studied in Sheffield, so I'm quite familiar with there. Canada, Pakistan. To those of you that it's very late, thank you for joining us so late. It's always hard to find a time. Hong Kong, Kenya, Barcelona, Bahrain. Amazing. India. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for letting me know where you're from. It's always lovely to have. So I will start with just a bit of an introduction and we'll go through the structure of the webinar today. So to start off, my name is Charlotte Burton. I'm the marketing manager for the School of Law here at Queen Mary University of London. You might have seen me in other open day settings talking about admissions and the programs that we run. Today's session, we're not going to talk too much about programs at all, actually, because we want to talk to you a bit more about the additional opportunities that are available to you when you choose to come and study law with us at Queen Mary at undergraduate level. So you can find out all the programme information if you haven't already applied on the website, but we'll be doing all the extra stuff around that here in this session today. So I've got some of my colleagues here with you who are going to run through the session. I'll let them introduce themselves in a moment. But just before we start, it's worth just mentioning that the Q&A and the chat function are available on here for you. If you want to ask a question, please feel free to use that. I will monitor it as we go along. If there is a question that's very specific, I will answer that directly to you. Or if it's something that is beneficial for everyone, there will be a time at the end for you to ask questions, and we will answer that for everyone. So please don't worry if you ask a question and we don't get back to you or answer you straight away. We will hold it and we will get to you at the end. So please don't worry. Questions will be answered, and if we don't end up having time, you'll have my details at the end and you can follow up with me afterwards. So please don't worry. So let's go around and introduce ourselves first before we get started. Fran, obviously, because you're up first, I'll let you go first in the introduction, and you're also on my screen in the right order.
Hello everyone, welcome to this session and welcome to Queen Mary as well. My name is Fran Rideout, and I'm the director of the Queen Mary Legal Advice Centre. I'm a practicing barrister and I'm a reader in clinical legal education and pro bono as well. Now I'm going to be talking to you today about the department opportunities because I've got some wonderful colleagues on the call here who are going to focus more about the Legal Advice Centre. Shall I hand over to Eve?
Hi everyone, my name is Eve Haynes. I work in the Queen Mary Legal Advice Centre and I focus on public legal education and street law projects, and I'll give you a full overview of what that actually means a little bit later on. Pass on to Kiana.
Hello everyone, my name is Kiana Smith and I'm a final year senior status student at Queen Mary University of London. The senior status degree is offered to students with a previous undergraduate degree in which we complete the foundational law modules required in the UK, as well as the 2.5 elective modules in 2 years rather than 3. So I'm just here today to share with you my experience in the Legal Advice Center and give you that personal student experience.
Perfect. We've also got our colleague Nigel joining, but he'll be along shortly. So we'll get started anyway, and then I'm sure he'll be along as soon as he can. So Fran, without further ado, over to you.
Thanks, Charlotte. Okay, so as I said a moment ago, although I'm part of the Legal Advice Centre team, I'm an academic in the department, so I have a much broader context of all of the different things that we do. So I'm going to try my best in 10 minutes to give you that overview. So we want to acknowledge that we recognise your formal degree. Of course, it's very important, but it's only part of how we aim to enrich you and to support you in developing into the career choices that you might later make. We're absolutely committed to providing you with a range of exciting, but really quite crucially enjoyable ways to improve your skills and your learning whilst you're also doing that formal study. And the really nice part is that in the law department here, we try to intertwine the personal and skills development that you'll do alongside your education so that you can do both and they're not segmented. And we also recognise that students who come through our law department have so many different interests. Some want to go on to be barristers or solicitors, practice in other countries, have careers in academia or the charitable sector, NGOs, governments, and there's plenty more aside from that list. So we've tried to create opportunities that link with all potential career options, not just the typical ones that you might think about. So extracurricular opportunities that people can engage with do two really important things. Okay, I personally think that they're absolutely vital in supporting a diversity within our law school and, of course, within our legal profession. So regardless of your background or experience or the opportunities that you might have had to date, we offer a range of opportunities that allow everybody to develop and have stuff to put on their CV and experiences that they've done. And secondly, we think it helps to build lifelong friendships, communities, and a lovely, friendly culture within our law school. And these things are really important as you again go out into your careers, but also whilst you're here studying. So some of you, the astute among you, may have already seen our brochure of extracurricular opportunities that I'm holding up. And when I finish talking, I'll pop the link to it into the chat so that you can all see it. This is a brochure that some colleagues and I have prepared on all of the different opportunities that aren't your formal learning opportunities that you can get involved with. Okay, and I'm going to give you a whistle-stop tour of a few of the key ones. Now, unfortunately, I can't talk to all of them, but I will try and get through as many as I can. So the Queen Mary Legal Advice Centre, which is a free student law clinic, I'm going to leave to Eve and Kayana to speak about in a moment. So I'll skip over that. We have a wonderful law careers service here. Now, they offer quite a big range of different ways that you can engage with them. First of all, there's individual appointments where a trained careers consultant can help look over your CV or your cover letter or do a mock interview with you. But they also run workshops. Sometimes they'll invite firms in. They have a legal week as well, where you can hear about different opportunities at different firms, careers modules and resources on our online learning platform that we call QM+. And they've got a range of different external mentoring schemes as well. There's something rather fabulous that the careers team that are centrally based in Queen Mary run called the Student Consultancy Project, where students can work together to help do consultancy work with a range of different businesses and organisations in our local area. So the careers team is really fantastic. Secondly, I want to just talk about student societies. Now, student societies are not run by staff. They are encouraged by staff and supported by staff, but they are run by students. Students set them up, students organise them, students work out what different topics they want their society to focus on. And at Queen Mary, we have some that are based in the student union, and they are university-wide departments, societies. So these tend to be sports or hobbies. In fact, there's almost every sport and hobby that you can think of that's based in the university. And then within the law department, we have our own, which are much more focused on the law. Okay, and these are the ones that I'm going to talk about today. So there's 15 of these law societies, and one representative from each goes to something that we call the Interlaw Council. to make sure that they collaborate together and they support each other, and that they can receive support from academic colleagues as well. So within those societies, we've got things like the Alternative Disputes Resolution Society, the Bar Society for aspiring barristers. There's a Commercial Awareness Society for those who want to go into commercial and corporate law. A Criminal Justice Society, again, for those that want to go towards, I would say a life of crime, but that sounds awful, doesn't it? Work in the criminal justice system. We've got a mooting society, and our students moot all over the world. They'll travel to international moots and different moots around the UK. And we have what's probably our biggest society, which is called the Law Society, and that tends to focus on the sort of solicitor profession generally. Okay. We've got something called the Queen Mary Legal Innovation Society, which is exciting, particularly in the advent of AI that we're all talking about at the moment. And a society that I'm particularly fond of, the Pro Bono Society. We've also got something called the Open Law Society, which focus on particular areas of law that are perhaps a little bit more niche, so that aren't often talked about in other events. And I don't know if, Kiana, you're part of it or not, but we have a Senior Status Society where students who are on the 2-year law degree programme can also get together and do things. So our societies host events, they provide camaraderie. Sometimes they'll provide opportunities, like the Pro Bono Society provides different placement opportunities for students. So they're a really important part of the life and soul of our law school. And you know, we're so lucky to have such engaged students that keep them running and build succession into their plan. So now I didn't mention in the list of societies a very big internal mooting competition that we have, because it's a little bit standalone. So every year, over 100 students enter the George Hind Moot, named after a previous professor that we had here in the law school. And the final is a big event. The students go through so many rounds. I think it's about 7 rounds. Hopefully get to the final. And the final is judged each year by a Supreme Court judge or a retired Supreme Court judge. And in fact, we held the final one year in the new Supreme Court, which was very exciting. But it's very prestigious, and the final is an event, and the staff and students go and watch and support their fellow students in that. So that's a really nice part of our law school. I also run something called the Plea and Mitigation Competition. You probably don't know what this is. Plea and mitigation is a piece of advocacy that a criminal defence lawyer, barrister or solicitor, will do before a defendant is sentenced, to try and ask a judge to give the most lenient sentence possible. And we do a competition each year where students can practice mixing facts with the law on sentencing and seeing how you can craft a really interesting piece of advocacy around that. And the winners get a marshalling placement in the county court with one of our partner judges. So that's a really exciting competition. In fact, I had a student only yesterday tell me that the second round of most pupillage interviews will be a piece of advocacy that's like a plea and mitigation. So that's great. 3 of our student societies all come together to run a commercial negotiation competition where there'll be a business problem, and the students negotiate, and then there'll be a judge that decides which side wins the negotiation. And there's various rounds. Again, a really good opportunity to get some experience and to start speaking the language of law, which can be quite difficult to get your head around. We also want to tell you that at Queen Mary, we have a Queen Mary Law Journal. You might have seen it already online, and again, I'll post the link into the chat once I've finished speaking. But that's an opportunity where you can get writing published. You can write, it's a generalist journal, and it's something called peer reviewed, which means that other academics will look at it and say it's good for publication. And it's open access, which means that you don't need a paid subscription. Anyone can get hold of that. So I'd encourage you to think about the journal as well. Our department has far more awards that students can win each year than I am going to rattle through in this 10 minutes. So some are linked to being a high achiever in a particular academic module, so academic achievement, and others are linked to skills and extracurricular activities. So, for example, we have the Outstanding Contribution to the Legal Advice Centre Award each year that goes to a student. One of the things that we have set up, that was, I should say actually, one of the benefits of being at a university in East London, like Queen Mary, is that we're so close to the City of London. So that means that we get more opportunities for extracurricular engagement. And one of those is a partnership that we run with Field Fisher, who are a law firm just up by Liverpool Street. And this is a partnership with a university where students can join the scheme who are from ethnic backgrounds that are underrepresented typically within the profession. And they will undertake a series of skills sessions and then have year-long mentoring and then do a short internship. And actually, I had two students a few years back that had come through the Legal Advice Centre module that both ended up taking this and getting training contracts with Field Fisher. So it's a really fantastic scheme. One of the other things I wanted to mention lastly is a wonderful legal careers and education podcast that myself and Professor Nigel Spencer led on starting up with two other individuals that aren't at Queen Mary. We started this in the height of the pandemic in summer 2020 to try and open access to profession and share behind the scenes conversations that we might have. So we call it Reimagine Law. And it has 99 episodes. I looked hoping that I could tell you 100, but it's 99 episodes. And although it's focused on the law in England and Wales, it actually has reach internationally in over 100 countries. So anybody can log in. You don't have to be a Queen Mary student and listen to some of those episodes. You can find it on your usual podcast player or Spotify on the desktop. And again, I'll put that link into the chat. And some of our episodes are on skills, some are on different pathways and roles in the legal profession or different areas of law. And we do also discuss topical issues in the legal profession, like AI and how that's going to support things, or virtual courtrooms and the like. So it's really worth getting involved with and having a listen. And there's some practical suggestions at the end of each episode that we suggest to students that they can do if they want to hear or learn more about the subject. So very last point I was going to make is that we at Queen Mary have a system of recognising our extracurricular activities so that students can get them on their degree transcript at the end of their degree, which is often a really important thing for our students to be able to have that to show. So I'm going to quickly finish up. But I'll be around for questions. And I should say this is a snapshot of what we do in the department, and there is far more in this brochure. So do take a look on the law school website and in the brochure for all of the detail. All right, thanks, Charlotte.
Perfect, thank you, Fran. Eve, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So yeah, as I introduced myself earlier, I work within the Queen Mary Legal Advice Centre. And I'm going to talk you through a little bit about what we do here, and so is Kiana. So I'll just get straight into it for time reasons. So I'll just start by explaining what clinical legal education actually is. So it's a nice mix of the theory that you'll be learning while you study a degree, so while you're studying a law degree, and putting that into practice. So it's a lovely chance to mix with the local community, other students who are doing your degree with you, the theory that you're learning, and an opportunity to meet with and work with local practicing solicitors and barristers who work with us on a pro bono, which is a free basis. Yeah, so it's a really nice mixture of all of those things coming together, and that is clinical legal education. So the Queen Mary Legal Advice Centre is the clinical legal education arm within the School of Law here. And we have on-site premises at Mile End, which then are able to offer free public legal advice services. We've got lots of pages on the website, which I'm sure somebody will be able to link you to in the chat. Just to note that there is a one-page synopsis of the Queen Mary Legal Advice Centre on the School of Law website, but if you scroll to the bottom of that, there's a link there that will take you through to our full pages on the website, which are much broader and cover all of the different work that we do. The two branches of clinical legal education that we do here at the Queen Mary Legal Advice Centre are individual advice, which Kayana is going to talk to you about in a little while, and community-based projects, and I'm going to focus on that now. So the projects that we deliver, we deliver a whole host of them, and they are all with the aim of increasing public legal education and awareness of rights and responsibilities. So be that at a school or at a prison or at a local community centre, anything like that to meet those aims. That is what our projects do. I am going to hopefully share my screen just to show you some pictures of the work that we do in the project's sphere. I hope you can see that and it's nice and full screen for you. So the first project here, if I start on the left, is the SPITE project. So that's sharing and publishing intimate images to embarrass. That's what the acronym stands for. And our students work in small groups to design and deliver workshops to secondary school children around that topic. So here are some of our smiling students having just finished their delivery. The next project that we work on is I Am You. So this project is aimed at 9 to 11-year-olds in primary school in the UK. And the students, again, design and deliver, but this time a series of workshops. So it's 4-hour-long sessions that they go back to the same group of school children to deliver. And these are all centered around protected characteristics in the Equalities Act 2010. So all of these sessions are trying to encourage these smaller people to celebrate their uniqueness and challenge stereotypes and think about what communities they belong to. And I've just put little examples of some of those things here. So a very, very sweet poem that one of the students wrote in a reflection session last semester. Some work on stereotypes here. And here are our two students, Athena and Natalia, who have just finished writing a community classroom rules tree with the student group they're working with that day. The third project on the slide here is the Prisoner Property Project. So for this project, our group of students, like this one here, will go to a prison and deliver a workshop to prisoners based around their property. So they might have had property go missing or become lost when they were being transferred between prisons, or it might have been retained by the police. And that workshop will focus on the rights of the prisoner in relation to their property in those circumstances. They also stay on in the afternoon while they're there and do individual appointments with the prisoners as well. The next project that we do is called School Tasking. So I don't know if the people from the UK are familiar with a program called Taskmaster, but this project is based on that television program, which is a bit silly, but we do make it law oriented. So this is a project for first year law students at the Queen Mary School of Law. They will go into a school again for a series of 4 workshops with 9 to 10-year-olds, and they will engage in a series of kind of law-based tasks with the hope of engaging a young age group with the law and legal responsibilities and arguments. So you can see an example there of what the students interpreted when we asked them to draw the law. So they interpret that as breaking into cars and that speeding is not good. So that's not a bad start. And they also have to do kind of sculpting tasks, and it's all very interactive. It's very fun, but it's trying to get those legal principles started off at a young age with those students. And then finally, one of our public legal education pieces is a blog that's on our website, which again, I'll link to you in the chat. And this allows our students to author articles either on a social justice topic or which are centered around one of the topics of our clinics where we offer individuals advice. So it's a kind of publicly available resource of information which might be pertinent to a particular case that someone is facing, a situation, or just a topical, interesting subject. And our students get to author and publish through that. So that's a very quick whistle-stop tour of some of the projects that we do. I'm going to pass over to Kayana now for her experiences with the Queen Mary Legal Advice Centre.
Thank you very much, Eve. So again, my name's Kiana, and I'm just going to share with you my experiences with the Legal Advice Center. I'm going to try and do my best to not say LAC, but I may say that. So if I do, it just means Legal Advice Center. But again, I'm trying my best not to. It's just habit. So the first opportunity that I wanted to share with you today would be the support team role. And so I got involved in this opportunity in my first year, and I continue to do so today. And it's really a great opportunity. But this is something that you can get involved in September when you come on with us. And the support team really just works behind the scenes with the staff at the Legal Advice Center to make sure that we run everything smoothly and get everything going. So there's a lot of work that goes into our appointments and the projects that you see us have, and the support teams is kind of like assisting with that. So for your first year, as a first year law student, typically support team is comprised of two different things. One will be your reception hours, and the other will be your weekly office hours. So your reception hours are, you're pretty much responsible for making sure that our appointments run smoothly that evening. This can include setting up appointment rooms, getting greeting student advisors, solicitors, and clients, and filling in the data that we take in through these appointments and putting them onto the servers. In addition, you'll do your weekly office hours, and in these office hours the tasks can differ depending on the day, but some of the tasks can include reminder calls, creating client folders, and working on special projects, but it really depends on the day that you're in and what's going on in the Legal Advice Center at the time. As a senior status student, my first year was a little bit different. So I did my reception hours along with the first years, but I also did my office hours that were predominantly triaging clients and inquiries. So how it works is that our clients or prospective clients will call into the Legal Advice Center or email into Legal Advice Center, and then we're responsible for reaching back out to them, understanding what their legal matter is, and then seeing whether or not it's something that we can take on in the clinic. And then we'll book an appointment for them and write up case detail forms that are sent off to the student advisors and the solicitors, and I'll share what that is later. So we're responsible for typically doing that and helping the staff with that. So like I said, I got involved in this in my first year. And the reason that I did so is that I had a lot of experience in pro bono services, but not in the legal sector. And I really wanted to get that legal understanding alongside my law degree. And this is literally the perfect opportunity to do so. One of the benefits of being in the support team is you're literally understanding what goes into the day-to-day operations. And believe it or not, the day-to-day operations are actually very similar to what's happening in law firms. So you're really understanding what's happening. You can do it in a pro bono sector, but it can also be transferable to when you're looking to work into your careers. And it's also just a really great opportunity to get your foot in the door from your first year. And you can continue to do that throughout your second and third year. And the second and third year would typically just be, again, the same stuff that I did in my first year, triaging the clients, booking our appointments, and writing up our case details for the office hours. The next opportunity that I want to share with you is being a student advisor. And this is an opportunity that you can get involved in your second and third year. And there are two different ways to go about it. So as Eve mentioned, this is an individual advice giving opportunity where we offer legal advice through letter writing. And as I previously stated, we get our clients who call, or prospective clients who call in, and the support team determines whether or not those matters are actual matters that we can take on in the advice center. Once that is determined, clients will be booked in for an evening appointment, and that's where the student advisors come in. So the student advisors on an evening appointment are basically running like an interview. They're conducting an interview and they're speaking with the client and trying to further understand what the matter is and what advice they're looking for and what specifically they're looking for us to give. And we don't do this we don't do this through representation, but we do this through letter writing. So once you have your appointment, you then have 2 weeks to turn around a letter of advice. And this letter of advice is going to detail what the next steps are for the client, what their issue is, and what their options are moving forward. This is pretty much done by you as a student advisor, but you are getting support from a solicitor. So you do have a support supervisor that you can reach out through over the 2 weeks that you are writing your letter. But this is something that you take on. This is your own little project, and you have the onus to ensure that you give your client the right letter and the correct information. So this is really the first opportunity that you can have in your law degree to see what it's going to be like practicing as a solicitor or a barrister. And there's so many skills that you get to enhance while you're doing that. The biggest takeaway for me was writing, because there's a difference between academic writing and legal writing, and being able to communicate to somebody who doesn't understand the law. And so this is one of the skills that you really get to hone in on right off the bat in your law degree. And it's also something that you're going to see on your assessments throughout your 3 years at Queen Mary. So as I said, there are two pathways to becoming a student advisor. One is through a module, and the other is an extracurricular route. So the module is the practice of law in a clinical legal environment. And this is actually a module taught by Fran, and I'm currently enrolled in this. And pretty much what the module is you gaining insight into the pedagogy of clinical legal education, as well as practical experience. So you're learning about the operations of like a legal advice center, you're learning about the ethics and the things that you need to take into consideration, but you're also physically doing this with your appointments. And so you're tasked with 5 appointments throughout the semester or throughout the term. And these are in 3 different areas of law. So currently I'm in the crime project, the Spite project, which is sharing and publishing intimate images to embarrass, and law in general. And so I'll have 5 cases, and they can be any of those subject matters. And I'm responsible for researching those areas of law, writing my letters, and communicating that to the client. And then the alternate opportunity is through just an extracurricular route, and that's going to be 3 cases throughout this semester, and this can be in 1 or 2 clinics. The next opportunity that I want to share with you is the social welfare benefits. So as I said, the Legal Advice Center is predominantly advice giving, but this is one opportunity where you can actually do representative work. And so the clinic is for members of the community who are looking for support with their social welfare benefits. And so they can come to us for form filling, appeals, and then tribunal representation. And so you can work with those clients, and you can actually be in a tribunal in front of a magistrate representing that client. And then the last opportunity that I want to speak to you about, and this is actually an opportunity that I got to engage in, and it's quite dear to my heart because it was just a phenomenal opportunity, and it really just changed my perspective on clinical legal education, but it also allowed me to see what I was learning while I was doing it. And this is the clinical legal exchange offered by Queen Mary in collaboration with the Hugh Whitting Law School in Trinidad and Tobago. So I saw on the call there are some students in Trinidad, and I wish I was there right now because I'm looking at a ton of snow. But this is just a fantastic opportunity where you spend a week, it's reading week in Trinidad, and you're in their legal aid clinic. So it's slightly different from our clinic because they're actually representing their clients. And these are students who are completing their law degree, but they're completing it after their LLB. So it's a little bit more of like a qualification university. So you really get to see the different types of like methods used in clinical legal education and how that's taught to students, and how the students then take that and use it towards their clients. And one of the other great opportunities that we had while we were in Trinidad was we also got to meet with a QM alumni, Queen Mary University alumni student in their children's court. So I'm very biased about this. You can tell it's a brilliant opportunity, and I definitely recommend looking into it. It was one of the highlights of my law degree, and I'll either pop it in the chat after, or somebody probably has already, but you can read more about that opportunity on our blog. James and I, the colleague that I traveled with, summarized what our week looked like, and you can kind of get more insight into that. Now I'll pass it back to Eve to share more of the values of the Legal Advice Center.
Thank you, Kayana. Well, it's just great to hear from an actual student about their experience, and I wish I'd gone to Trinidad. Sounds great. Yeah, so you can see that there's just so many transferable opportunities and skills that you can gain by taking part in any of the extracurricular opportunities available at the Queen Mary Legal Advice Centre, but more broadly in the School of Law as well, so the mooting, etc. But within the Legal Advice Centre specifically, we're so proud that we can support our local community and provide our students with skills. So not just kind of the obvious skills, but also being able to develop their emotional intelligence and empathy when working with clients, and those kinds of things, which is so important to legal professionals, but also are really transferable skills. Obviously, your employability skills will be enhanced by taking part in our work, and the opportunity to network with the local profession is really important as well, and excellent for people to be able to engage with. And really importantly to us, we want to be able to develop ethical graduates who have a sense of social justice, and which they can then hopefully take on into their careers after leaving. and a co-ownership of education as well. So all of those projects that I talked about, our students are developing those resources and are giving them out to the public in whichever format they are doing so. So that's all really important to us. And I will very, very quickly rattle through some statistics from the Legal Advice Centre. So we've given one-to-one advice to over 4,500 clients since we opened in 2006. I'm sure this number is, I need to do some number crunching, but at least 8,500 school students have participated in our workshops. We engage with around 450 students who are on the law programs every year and some form of clinical legal education. We have around 200 volunteer lawyers that work with the centre each year. We have 11 members of staff now, which is excellent. And as Kiana alluded to, there's a mixture of being able to get involved on a module basis, but also on an extracurricular basis in the activities that we put on. And Kiana mentioned the social welfare benefits tribunal work that we do. So far, we have won £852,000 in disability benefits for clients that we've represented at the Social Security Tribunal, which is, wonderful, and we're really proud of that. All of that information and lots more can be found in our annual report. So all of our annual reports are on the website. So I'll link those as well, so you can have a look at that data in a bit more detail. I'll stop talking now and pass over to Nigel.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be part of this session this afternoon, to meet you all, even if virtually. And I've seen some of the chat, so I know you're joining us from far and wide. So it's amazing to have you with us. I hope my name's Nigel Spencer. I'm a professor of professional practice in the law school. What does that mean? Well, it means that I actually complement a lot of what Eve and Fran and Kiana and the team have actually been doing. I actually sit just along the corridor from where they are as well, down just near the law school. But what that means is, and I hope what you've taken away actually from lots of what the team have said already, is really how special Queen Mary is, in the sense of the balance of what we're trying to do and the opportunities we're trying to offer you. This is not just, if you come to Queen Mary, it is absolutely not just about knowledge building. It's also about skill building as well, and thinking about your lifelong skills. And Eve, you just said it there in terms of things like emotional intelligence and those types of skills. I mean, my area of the work, and I'll talk about some of the more curricular focused stuff I do and the placements and the practice, but also, and I saw in the chat someone asked about law in practice, so I will come on and talk about that in a minute. But also some of the extracurricular things I get involved with as well. Think of my role, and my colleague Mohammed as well, who helps me, as being really an outward-facing role, a bit like lots of Eve, Kiana and Fran's work is outward-facing as well, going out towards the community, towards society. So I sit within the law school, but also face outwards towards lots of employers. And my job is to really think, how can I actually help you, not just while you're here, but actually help you for your next steps in your career after you've left Queen Mary as well. So how can I build some lifelong skills for you and actually give you the career opportunities and job opportunities that you need and would like as well, both in the UK and also internationally as well. And let me tell you a little story. So the story actually goes back, in terms of why I'm sitting here at Queen Mary now, actually goes back about 15 years. And I was actually, what I didn't say is my background in the legal sector for the past 20 years often was actually not sitting in a law school, but I was actually sitting in the employers. So I had the interesting position where I was seeing lots of students come out from universities and come into the law firms where I was working, where I was in the HR, in the learning and development function. So I was responsible for the leadership development and the training that we used to do for people and helping people succeed in their careers. So I would see for year upon year, all the people coming out of university, graduating and coming into the firm. And then I would be thinking, how could we actually improve things and actually improve what, build their confidence and help them transition into the workplace even better? And to be honest, what Fran, Eve and Kiana have actually summarized is a lot of what I spent my time working on as well, and why I got particularly interested in Queen Mary and thought it was a very special place. Because when I approached Queen Mary back in 2014, I'll roll it forward to then now, with some ideas. And I said, well, I've seen these little ideas of getting practical projects for undergraduates and graduates. You know, that seems to really help them when they come in our firm. How could we do that more? And I went around lots of universities, and Queen Mary was the one that was really interested in this. Partly, Fran, no doubt, because you were already doing a lot of this stuff. They were already down the corridor and winning lots of awards for your legal advice centre work and all the projects that the team has mentioned. But also we thought, well, how can we do even different types of things? And so I thought, well, in the UK, we have this method of education that scientists have used for many, many years and decades, of having what you call a year in industry, where you have the opportunity during your studies to go out and work at the same time and build practical skills. And so I said to the law school, I said, well, why can't we do something like that in law, even if no law school really ever does this? And so we thought about it, and then we had a go at doing it with Queen Mary when I was at the law firm Reed Smith. And so what we created back then was this model where all of you who come and do one of the law degrees, you don't have to choose in advance to do this, but you come in on your law degree of choice, and then you can have a chance to apply for some of the many opportunities that that Mohammed and I can create with all the employers to run these year in industry experience opportunities. So the law in practice degree. So how does that work? It basically means you apply for the opportunity during your second years, and then there are lots of opportunities at lots of different firms, not just Reed Smith now. We now work with lots of different law firms. We work also with what's called an in-house legal team. So you probably know that in big corporates like big banks or big, I don't know, the BBC or Barclays or HSBC or Chanel or some of these very big companies who are global companies, of course, they have lots of lawyers working for them as well. So what we've done is we've teamed up also with one of those big global corporate teams that have an in-house legal team in their corporate, and you can go there on a placement as well. And so we've also worked with one of your charities, Z2K, an anti-poverty charity. And so we have a placement there as well for a whole year where you'll be earning money as a young paralegal and actually working there in the different legal departments. Many of those opportunities actually lead to full-time graduate jobs at the end, because over the 10 years we've been running the program and expanding it, we've actually had about 80% of all those students who've done it get full-time training contracts at the end of their degree as well. So there's lots more I could say. The one thing I would say, going back to my story of when I was sitting in the law firm, and I used to see people coming in, and for me, it was about building people's confidence as well of when they were going to be going out into the workplace, because it's very daunting to go into one of these big employers and go into a workplace, especially if perhaps you haven't had a chance to have much work experience yet. And so what I really remember, I remember we did a workshop once with lots of the law in practice students who had been on these placements. And one of them said in the workshop, which really touched my heart, they said, do you know what? In my first year, I don't think I even had the confidence to sit even in the front row of the lecture theatre. And here I am talking to all you senior people at this workshop, having done my placement, and I've got my job for when I finished as well. And so for me, actually giving you these practical experiences is a way of actually really building your confidence. And I would really emphasize all the things that Fran, Eve and Kiana have said as well, all those amazing projects that they run, which are really quite unique to Queen Mary, I would say, in my experience. They're great ways of actually learning by doing. And over the last 10 or 15 years, I've become a massive fan of learning by doing, whether that's, as you said, Fran, being part of a society, whether it's doing a law in practice, whether it's being part of the Legal Advice Centre, whether it's doing one of the special mentoring projects as well that you can do and get involved with. Some of the partnership firms we run offer to our students that, again, are unique to us. There are some lovely opportunities for you to really connect, build your networks as well into some of the lawyers who work perhaps in different roles, whether they're in-house or in law firms in some place in the city, or barristers in the barristers' chambers. And so apart from the curricular things I do, I'm conscious of time and answering all your questions, Charlotte, as well, that I know we need to leave time for. I also do lots of extracurricular little skills programs. So apart from the placement degree that we do with Reed Smith very kindly do 4 skills masterclasses every year, where you get a lovely certificate for finishing those. And they're all about workplace skills. We call them managing myself, managing my work, managing my communications, and managing my relationships as well. And basically what those skills workshops are there to do. We originally designed those actually when we created them way back many years ago. They were really for the placement students, but then they became so popular. We said, well, every student should be allowed to do these. So we run skills programs like that. I run a little skills booster program with a really good external colleague of mine, where it's all about giving you the skills of telling stories in interviews for gaining a job as well. So there are all these different opportunities and little programs that we run that can just supplement your core studies. Because absolutely, you know, you can come and listen to some of our professors and be in their modules where they're the experts in, say, relationships between China and Europe, or on IP, or on corporate law, or on contracts, or on the use of technology in contracts now, or on equity and trust, all of these different areas. Of course, you can come and do all those topics. But I think the richness of the offering at Queen Mary really comes from some of the people you've heard speak today, you know, all of Eve and her colleagues, and Fran and Kaina at the Legal Advice Centre, and some of the other projects that they've mentioned there as well. And I know, you know, of course, those things exist in some way at other universities. Of course they do. But I think at Queen Mary, they really get this point, as I say, of building knowledge as well as skill. And that's not always the case, actually. So you really will find lots of lovely opportunities at Queen Mary to actually build lifelong learning skills. And whether you want to go on and be a lawyer, or whether you want to go on to take a different career path, you might want to go into government or in policy, or go off and, you know, please, we need all of you to help us change the world. So go, you know, help us, you know, help develop your skills and then go off and help change the world. But whatever pathway you want to take, all of these skills are just lovely opportunities when you're at Queen Mary, I think, as well. And just to say as well, just a little bit of research we did to emphasize why all the things that Fran and the team, and also I hope some of the things I've been saying, might make you realize how important they are. We actually did some research on all the people that had done some of these more practical activities, including the law in practice degree. And we actually found, for example, that the students that do that actually get really good degree results as well, in comparison to people that do less practical activities. So I would really encourage you, whichever university, wherever you want to go, make sure you engage with the practical activities. You will build much more confidence by actually building your skills by throwing yourself in and experimenting as well. I think there's a question there about books. So we can do all that in the queries. Perhaps this has come in. Sorry, and I apologize that my computer blew up today, so I needed to be joining from my phone. So I hope you've been able to hear and see me okay. But yeah, it's just, as I say, I think Queen Mary is a nicely rounded, three-dimensional law school, as I always think of it as. You know, you'll have lots of opportunities, and we have really strong links with employers that actually build those opportunities, and all the work Fran and the team have done for 15 years to build all those opportunities as well. There's a wealth of stuff that you can do that will actually, you know, will actually build friendship networks, will build your professional networks, and also allow you to build your skills for your future job opportunities as well. So perhaps I'll stop there, because I'm conscious, Charlotte, of time, and also of letting people ask questions.
Thank you, Nigel. We've been able to hear you perfectly, so no problem at all with being on your phone. Very clear. So thank you, everyone. We've got quite a few questions which I've kind of held to the end. So let's get started. Team, let's try and keep it brief, just to try and get through them all. So the first one is from Caitlin, and I can see you're coming to the offer holder day on Saturday, so I will see you there. Great to hear you're coming. Fran, I think, is going to be there as well. Yep. So you'll see a couple of us there. And this is probably a good one for Kayana, is you're obviously on senior status, so it might alter slightly, but she's asked kind of what a typical week looks like when you're studying law at Queen Mary, which is a really lovely question to start.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's kind of hard to say, but your typical, it's really just going to be your modules and studyings, and it will differ each year. But as a senior status student, I take 5 modules a semester in my first year. So you'd have that, and you don't have much choice with the days that your courses are in your first year. So you kind of you're attending class, and then for a senior status student, and someone else asked this, but you also need to apply to training contracts and opportunities a little bit earlier than other students. So that's kind of where you're splitting those things in. If you're involved in the Legal Advice Center, appointments as a support team member, you can either have an appointment on a Tuesday, Thursday, and sometimes a Wednesday evening. And then there are some Monday opportunities as well, but those are all evening opportunities. And then note taking and student advising would also take place in the evening. I believe our earliest appointment is 6:10, or you need to be there for 6:10, and our last appointment is 7:25. So it can kind of differ, and then you're kind of just having your classes predominantly in the day. I don't think any class runs over 6 o'clock.
Perfect, thank you. Someone's asked about exams. I don't know if anyone knows that much about exams. Kayanna, you will, from obviously taking exams, and obviously they would differ depending on the module. So someone's asked if the exams are open book.
I could answer that as well. It depends on the module. That's definitely depending on the module. As of right now, we're still doing online exams, but I don't know if the university has decided whether that's going to change next year. So online, technically that is open book, but there are hour restraints on it now. I believe it's 8 hours right now, but that may change next year as well. So you really have to look. That information would be passed on to you next year, but technically right now they are open book because they are still online, and or you'll have an essay assessment that you'll have some open book opportunities.
Can I just add to that one, that there's a lot of modules as well that have practical assessments. So the 2 modules that we run at the Legal Advice Centre, for example, have practical assessments, and Nigel's Year in Practice has a practical assessment as well, and I'm sure there's others that I've missed out. I think there's a presentation in labour law and various other subjects.
Perfect, thank you. So someone's asked about any international exchange, semester abroad programs at global universities. So if you choose to study on our global law program or our English and European law program, your 3rd year has an option to go and study abroad at one of our partnership universities. Obviously, the European law program will be within Europe, and the global program is kind of rest of the world outside Europe. Depending on the university will depend if you need to know the native language, or if it's taught in English. Majority are taught in English, so that's an option for you. I do believe you can start on the LLB and then change on to global or English and European, but that would need to be done at the start of your when you're starting with us. We encourage you, if you're interested in that, to apply for global law or English and European. And if you change your mind and decide you don't want to study abroad for the year, you can just go back to the standard LLB law. So there's options there for you. I'm going to whiz on to the next one. Scholarships, we've had a few questions about this. The best place to have a look is on the scholarships database, which is on our website. There's a whole range of scholarships available on there. You can search by law, you can search by the country you're from, and you can see all the possible options there for you and how to make an application for that. Jenny's asked about extra supercurriculars you would recommend. If you're thinking about admissions, I wouldn't say we're particularly fussy or want to see something particular. We like students to be quite well-rounded. It'd be really boring if everyone came from exactly the same background. So it's nice to have a diverse background of students. If you have gone along to watch a trial or something, that's great. Or if you've done a day in a law firm, that's brilliant too. But also if you've done a part-time job, or you do music in your spare time, that's still nice stuff to talk about. So it doesn't really matter. We haven't got anything specific we ask for, but if you do extracurricular or supercurricular stuff, please do mention it in your application. It helps us differentiate between the different students and find out a bit more about you. Okay, I'm going to whiz through these last ones. Usual class size for lectures and tutorials. That kind of depends on the year, doesn't it? Kayanna, you might be able to help with this.
Yes, first year, usually the modules are going to be the full cohort. So I think last year was around 400 students for your modules, like your lectures, and then your tutorials will typically be around 10 or less. Second year, it can differ just based off the module. So I have some modules where there are about 25 of us, and then I have some modules where there are 100. So it really just depends on the module. But first year, it's going to be larger. Second year, when you get into your electives, second and third year, sorry, speaking from a senior status perspective, it will lessen.
Perfect. And someone's actually said, how many times a week do you have lectures, Kiana? Would be helpful.
So last semester I had modules every single day. This upcoming semester I have Fridays off. Last year I had modules. In first year it was every single day, and I believe the first years again this year have a module every single day. It's really in your second and third year when you get those electives that you can maybe customize your schedule a little bit and potentially have a day off.
Perfect. Thank you. Obviously, Kiana's on senior status that's slightly different to the standard LLB law because she's doing a condensed program. So you might have a day that you don't have lectures or tutorials. It completely depends on your module selection, particularly when you get into your second and third year. I'll try and get through a few of these really quick ones that I can answer. Acceptance rate, we don't have an acceptance rate. It's quite an American thing, acceptance rate. For Queen Mary, if you make a good enough application and you're predicted the grades that we ask for, you should get made an offer. How it works here in the UK, if you're made an offer and you achieve the grades that you have been predicted to get, then you will get in. There's not an acceptance rate. We don't say we're only accepting a percentage of the number of applications we get. So as long as you make a good application, then there's no reason why you wouldn't get an offer as long as you've got the grades that we're looking for. Caitlin's asked about applications for accommodation. You'll hear about this on Saturday as well. But applications for accommodation are open in around March time, which is only open to those that have had picked Queen Mary as their first choice. So if you've not to sway anyone, but it's on a first come first served basis. So when they open, you apply for your accommodation, and it's done on first come first serve. If we're an insurance choice for you, you won't get the opportunity to apply for accommodation at that point. When can we expect to receive timetables? That is way later down the line, so it doesn't come to September until you'll get that kind of information, because timetabling takes quite a lot of time from the team, so you'll get that information when you start with us. How long we've got? Let's get a couple more in the last 2 minutes. Nigel's done a great job in putting some books into the chat, so thank you. Someone's asked about that, what books I should read. For senior status, it doesn't matter what your undergraduate degree is in, as long as you achieve an equivalent to a 2-1. So if you've got a bachelor's in fine art, it doesn't matter. As long as you're now interested in law and you've got a good reason why you want to do law now, that's totally no problem. Athletic sports, we do have a gym on site. There's societies for every possible sport that you can get involved in. We use a lot of the local facilities around here. There's more books ones. We've got that. Have a look in the chat. How will I be able to accept my offer? This should be all through UCAS. If you're having any trouble with that, please do contact our admissions team and they can get in touch with you and try and help there. And in terms of accommodation, international students and home students, as a first year student, you are guaranteed accommodation on campus. So we want you to be able to be settled in. So if you want to live on campus, you can. Obviously, if you live very nearby the campus, you might want to live at home. We have a lot of students that do commute to campus. That's totally normal. And you don't miss out if you're not living on campus. But international students, definitely you're guaranteed accommodation on campus in your first year. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there because we've got 2 minutes left and I'll end up just going through very quickly. I think that's everything. If you have any questions at all that I haven't been able to get to, please do not hesitate to get in touch. You have my email address. This session's also been recorded, so this will be sent out as well. Just seen one quickly. If you haven't received an offer yet and you've made an application, please don't worry. It just takes time for admissions to get back to you. So if I saw a couple of people said they applied in October and they're still yet to hear back. Sorry about that. It might just be a bit of a backlog at the moment, but admissions will get back to you. It usually takes between 4 to 6 weeks, but if it's a bit longer, it might be due to the holiday period we've had here as well. So please don't worry, they'll get back to you as soon as they can. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much, everyone, my lovely panel that's been here today. Kayana is in Toronto, so she's got up a different time for us to help. So thank you, Kayana. Nigel, Fran, Eve, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to sign off there. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And we will send a recording round in the next couple of days. So take care, everyone. And bye-bye. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye now.